Hello, are you feeling anxious in this moment? Yes? Welcome to the club. It is natural to have anxious thoughts and feelings at times in our lives. It's our brain, for a moment, focusing on something that is important and warning us. Can you, something doesn't seem quite right, or you need to check if you need to do something about it. Just the body's giving, and it feels uncomfortable because the body's giving us energy. It goes into the bloodstream, but then if you don't do anything with that energy, and if you don't address it, it just feels worse and worse and worse. To the point where you can even feel dread. No. Before our mind gets carried away and we feel more and more out of control, more and more uncomfortable, more and more dysregulated, because thoughts attract other kind of similar thoughts, and it takes a little while for our feelings to catch up. So if we are feeling a little bit under the weather or a little bit guilty, or perhaps we got ourselves a little bit off the rails temporarily, and our brain is going down the road of looking for threats, which could be real or perceived, and automatically making this assumption without us even realizing. We only realize when we feel, oh, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable, and we're trying to work it out. What is this feeling of discomfort? What am I thinking in this moment? So let's check in. What am I thinking in the moment? What are my thoughts in the moment? Let's listen to our inner voices, non-judgmentally, without criticizing, just simply becoming curious and aware. What are my thoughts right now? Okay, let's ask another question. What is the function and purpose of this thought right now? Sometimes we can have some types of thoughts that we could look at it as being a little bit anxious, because it might be one way of our brain trying to get reassurance that we can control something, that we can deal with something, to prevent a problem, to solve a problem. It can also be a way of preparing us for a future event or situation that we are perceiving as being challenging or uncomfortable. There's some sort of negative association with it, and our brain is thinking, I need to prepare myself. Hence this repetition, hence this rumination. Let's check in a little further. What other thoughts are in this moment? Sometimes we also have, if you need pause, if you need extra time to answer, to hear your answer, just pause the video. Sometimes some of our thoughts could be, I should be doing something else, because we have planned, because it's a habit, because time is at stake, because there'll be consequences if we don't engage in that activity. Now, when we go with the shoulds, or sometimes could be some sort of obligation that either we imposed on us or it's imposed on us by, we absorbed and is imposed on us by society. So let's check in with our shoulds. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Just notice without judging. Have water nearby. And keep on having sips of water to hydrate. Now our shoulds can place us in uncomfortable places where we feel tension between what we should be doing and what we're actually doing. So let's go with I'm choosing, in this moment I'm choosing to do or not to do this. In this moment I'm choosing to engage or I'm choosing not to engage. And then we can even justify to ourselves because I'd like to do or feel, and then fill in the blank. So notice if there's any more thoughts. Sometimes we can beat ourselves up because we haven't measured, or in this moment are not measuring up to the behaviors that we want to engage, or the person we want to be, or the activities that we want to pursue, or the sequence that we think that is, we have this rule and we are not meeting that expectation. Our expectation is high and we're not meeting that expectation for some reason. That can be a source of anxious thoughts, that feeling of failure. And if you're not meeting that expectation, then we can also feel that we are losing control, and then it's getting more and more difficult to get back, to recover the time wasted. And we might feel like we are failing. And if you are struggling with our low mood or self-esteem, you can even go down the road into labeling ourselves as a failure. It's a big jump, but if we are feeling anxious and feeling that we don't have control, then we can automatically negatively labeling ourselves. So just notice any thoughts that might come up without judging. Pause the video if you need more time. You might also feel anxious because our brain is perceiving a loss of a logical consequence that would allow us to best achieve something, loss of something that we haven't done as a result of our action and decision and behavior. And loss because we are perceiving a bigger loss because we're not back in track. And those feelings just keep on being pervasive and invasive, especially when we are trying to do something else. And we're trying to concentrate on something else, but we struggle with our concentration because the mind is sort of fleeting into other kinds of thoughts automatically without us even being aware. So let's check in. How am I feeling? And how am I feeling physically in this moment? How is my body? Is there anything I can do to make myself a little bit more comfortable? Just adjust. What can I do right now to make myself feel a little bit more comfortable physically? And let's see if we can decide what to do. Am I physically safe? Am I mentally safe in this moment? Am I emotionally safe in this moment? No, if we are not, when we are not physically safe, and if you are not physically safe in this moment, remove yourself into safety, ask for help. If you're not emotionally safe, create steps, ask for help as well, so that bit by bit you can increase that safety. What about the thing that we must engage, that we must do to minimize the consequences? So, is this eminent, important right now? Do I have some flexibility of time, as when and where? Or can I do this now, or can I do it later? Is it best if I do it now? Can I be a little bit flexible with my approach? I know that sometimes rigidity and having plans in place does help us achieve certain things, and it might be best for us. However, when we're not managing the sequence, because either we sabotage ourselves with our thoughts and behaviors because we have different needs in the moment, or because something else happens and we must attend to, or because something else crops up that we're not planning. So in what way can I be flexible and adapt to this change constructively? Not destructively, but constructively. Let's let go of those shoulds and rigidity for a moment by excelling. Exhale fully and exhale. Close the nostril and exhale through the other one. Close and exhale. And let's take a full breath into the belly. Breathe in. Breathe out. Are my expectations realistic in this moment? In what ways can I be flexible in this moment? Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay, if we are feeling a little anxious, our brain might be perceiving the worst possible scenario. Okay, so let's address this if that's the case. So, is my brain perceiving the worst possible scenario right now? Breathe in. Breathe out. Is it something that I can do in this moment that will actually solve the situation, not create more problems, not getting matters worse, but actually solve. Can I do something right now that would actually solve and resolve this moment, this problem once and for all? Breathe in, breathe out. If there is a solution, then let's do it now. If it's the right timing and the best solution. Now, if we can't, how can we use our energy? Now, one way of using our energy is to do something productive that is in line with our values and goals, perhaps towards a different goal in this moment. We could use that energy the body has given to us in order to go and investigate and address the problem. For instance, we could vacuum, go for a walk, move things around so we have a bit more energy. Or we could decide to work on our relaxation, calming ourselves down through some stretches. Stretch the shoulders to return to that base, to that calm. Turn the neck. Full breath in and slowly out. Breathe in. Breathe out. If our mind still perceives that the worst possible scenario is going to happen and that we will be unable to cope, then let's go with it. Okay, what's the worst that could possibly happen? And give ourselves a moment to think it through. Can write it down, can say it in your thoughts, just describing it. Pause the video if you need extra time. Now, what about another question? What if I am able to cope? Because often our brain goes into, worse will happen, I won't be able to cope. No, let's also our brain. What if I'm able to cope? What if I can find a solution? What if I can find a resolution in time, bit by bit? What if things actually go well, or okay, or better than I'm anticipating, or will actually be okay? Not the best, just turn out differently than I'm expecting. What if I can actually cope with this? What if? On a positive way, or neutral way? What if I'll cope with it, might not be perfectly, but it's actually okay? Breathe in. Breathe out. So we can spend some time envisaging the worst. Our brain will do that automatically, but you can also spend some time envisaging the best and then working at it. Okay, what's the probability that the worst will happen? Yes, there's a possibility, but what's the probability? But equally, what's the probability that the best might happen? And then, why don't we try the middle road? What is the most probable outcome? Meaning the middle road might not be totally bad, totally best. Just something in between. Something that perhaps we, as I said, we might find solutions, we might find ways of coping. Might not be the best, but we're finding ways of coping. Breathe in. Breathe out. Whenever there's change, it takes a little time for us to adjust to that change, to process, to find solutions. So let's breathe in And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. May we adapt to change constructively. Find the solutions that is actually helpful and empowering. Breathe in. Breathe out. May I adapt to this change. May I find the solutions to this problem in a way that is constructive, helpful, empowering. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let's have a moment of stillness where we notice our breath and breathing, where we notice the rising and falling of the belly, where we awaken our capacity, feelings of capacity, that we can do this. Breathe in, breathe out. I can do this. Breathe in, breathe out. Just connect with the body. Notice just presence. In what way can I adjust myself and make myself a little more comfortable? Just make that change. Notice the thoughts without judging. Just be curious. Notice the body. Notice how you're feeling in this moment. Breathe in. Breathe out. In what way can I find a solution to tackle this in a way that I can take small steps, baby steps, that is manageable? And if there are some losses, let's go into a place of acceptance. It is what it is, and I know I'm going to cut my losses short and make the best that I can from this moment forward. And there's also a possibility that I can still do some of these things just in a different order, different timing. So I'm going to use my flexibility and adaptability to best manage, to best achieve, to best solve. Breathe in. Breathe out. I value and approve of myself. Breathe in. Breathe out. Even though when I don't get things right. Breathe in. Breathe out. There are more than one ways of doing things. And I can try things, just trial and error, and adjust things until I can find the best balance, the most helpful balance. Breathe in. Breathe is gone. I cannot change. I can only have an influence in what I can do from this moment forward. What do I have left? And how much time do I have? And what can I do in this time? And what is best that I do in this time? Accepting the losses, making peace with what is. And in this moment, what can I do? What is the best thing I can do in this moment? Breathe in. Breathe out. Just sit in silence for a moment or two. Notice your belly rising and falling. Notice the breath. It's a natural form. And let's give ourselves some love. I love myself. I love and approve of myself. Even when I get it wrong. Even when I get things in the wrong sequence. I love myself even when I don't do the things that I should do. I love myself even when I do things that I should not do or get distracted. I love myself even when I lose control of time, don't do what I should do, or do things I shouldn't do. I still choose to love myself. I still choose to be compassionate with myself. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now we can look at it and try to work out the reasons why. Every behavior has a function and a purpose. Sometimes we just have the momentum going. Sometimes we're trying to fulfill a need that perhaps we are trying to put it away, put it to one side. And we have this need that we might not even realize we do. So identifying that need and then finding ways. In what way can I provide for this need in a way that is healthy and empowering? And then doing the best we can. Once we get hold of ourselves, we are doing the best we can in each given moment. But if we wish to start a new momentum, one momentum that's slightly more rational rather than emotional, then just think rationally and through. Okay, that was then. This is now. What would I like to do now in this moment? Would I like to continue, or would I like to stop? Or would I like to start a different momentum and going in a different direction? Do I need to cut my losses short? From now on, what are my options? And within my options, what's the best possible option for this? With the time that I have left, with the energy that I have in the moment, with the mood that I have in the moment, what's the best possible solution? And what have I learned so that in the future I can remember and perhaps have a little strategy in place to know when I'm more vulnerable, to know when I am like this, I'm more likely to engage in this activities, and then more likely to feel anxious if I don't engage in other activities. So, what can I do to prevent that in the future? But right now, what can I do right now? I can learn my lesson. I can take a moment to regulate myself. So I can go into my wise mind, my rational mind, and then decide rationally what's the best next step. Love from my heart, big hug. I sincerely hope that you find some sort of usefulness on this, even if it were just the belly breaths to come down into a calming space. Bye for now.